What if I told you Caesar's Palace, the crown jewel of Las Vegas, is crumbling from the inside? You step through the marble arches. The air smells like money and perfume. Dealers call bets, fountains roar, and tourists pose under golden ceilings. It feels timeless until you look closer. The waiters are fewer, the rooms cost more, and the empire that once defined Vegas luxury now runs on debt, lawsuits, and fading glory. Stay with me because today we're breaking down how Caesars went from legendary to dangerously close to collapse. The empire starts cracking. The first big sign came quietly, but it hit like a shockwave through Wall Street. Caesars Entertainment just got kicked out of the S&P 500. That's the list of America's 500 biggest and most valuable companies, the ones investors trust to stay strong. Getting removed from it isn't just bad press. It means every index fund that automatically holds S&P stocks had to sell Caesars overnight. Billions in shares dumped in a single move. The stock plunged even lower, dropping more than 50% in just 2 years. For a company that built its identity on being the king of Vegas, that's public humiliation. Behind the marble and chandeliers, insiders say executives are in emergency mode. Meetings drag late into the night, trying to stop a slide they no longer control. But if being kicked out of the S&P sounds bad, wait till you see how deep their debt hole goes. Drowning in $12.3 billion debt. Another cracks in the empire only got deeper when the numbers came in. Caesars is carrying $12.3 billion in debt. That's not a small pile of bills. Interest alone costs hundreds of millions every single quarter. To keep the lights on, the company has been selling off pieces of its empire. The World Series of Poker, once a crown jewel of brand prestige, went under the hammer. Even hotel upgrades are paused. Routine maintenance that keeps fountains sparkling or sweets fresh now waits. Staff gossip in the back hallways about frozen budgets and shrinking bonuses. Every cut, every delay hits the people who keep Caesars running. And when you start cutting costs this deep, layoffs are already starting. The layoff whisper. Whispers started in staff chat groups and break rooms. Layoffs are coming. Departments are being restructured, which insiders say is code for trimming staff. Overtime hours vanished almost overnight. Some longtime employees at Caesars Palace and the Flamingo were quietly asked to reapply for their own jobs, unsure if they'd return. Fear spreads faster than official announcements, and people are bracing for the first wave. Meanwhile, the irony stings. While the workers tighten their belts, tourists are still getting hit with higher rates. The gap between the people running the empire and the people paying for it keeps growing, and it's only going to get worse. The $50 a night resort fee. Walk into the lobby at Caesars, the Flamingo, or Horseshoe, and the first number you see isn't the room rate, it's the resort fee. 2 years ago, these fees hovered under $30 a night. Today, Caesars is charging $50 or more, even at their value properties. Guests vent online, calling it legal robbery on Reddit and TripAdvisor. And there's no way to opt out, even if you don't use the pool, gym, or spa. Add taxes and city surcharges, and you're easily paying $70 or more before you even set foot in your room. And that's just the beginning. If the resort fee feels shocking, the rest of Vegas has found even cleverer ways to drain your wallet. The vanishing value deal. Remember when a weekend in Vegas could be done for under $100? Those days are disappearing fast. Mid-tier Caesars properties now ask $250 to $400 a night, and that's before food, drinks, or resort fees. Add in a buffet, a couple of cocktails, and parking, and your cheap getaway suddenly costs over $1,000 for just a couple of days. Even longtime fans are skipping Vegas, choosing cheaper cities like Phoenix or Reno instead. Analysts note a troubling trend. Average visitor spending has gone up, but the total number of visitors is falling. The shrinking crowd doesn't just hurt Caesars' profits, it trickles down to everyone, from blackjack dealers to bartenders, and the effects are starting to show. The empty tables problem. Walk the casino floors on a Tuesday morning, and the difference is striking. Tables that once buzzed with energy now sit half empty. Dealers notice fewer players, smaller bets, and people leaving after an hour instead of staying all night. Caesars' occupancy numbers tell the same story. Down 2 percentage points in the second quarter of 2025 alone, which translates to about 27,000 fewer room nights sold. Fewer guests mean fewer drinks ordered, smaller tips, and a quieter, less exciting atmosphere. One dealer admitted, "It's quiet now. Vegas used to buzz 24/7. And that quiet isn't just a random slowdown. It's a symptom of something larger, a creeping collapse that's starting to grip the Strip as a whole. The 11% tourist drop, 2025 hit like a punch to the gut for Vegas. Visitor numbers dropped 11% compared to the same month last year, the biggest mid-year decline in 5 years. Tour buses that once overflowed sit half empty. Taxi lines disappear by noon, and street performers see fewer crowds. Social media is full of first-time visitors vowing never again after sticker shock hits. For Caesars, the impact is immediate. Rooms remain unsold, tables are emptier, and restaurants serve fewer guests. Even the loyal spenders are tightening their belts, ordering less, and skipping pricey shows. The city's famed energy is fading, and Caesars is on the front lines of feeling that loss. But fewer tourists isn't the whole story. When California stopped coming. California has always been the lifeblood of Vegas weekends, but the flow slowed to a trickle. Weakening consumer confidence, rising gas prices, inflation, and layoffs in tech industries kept many Golden State visitors home. Caesars executives privately call it the California choke, knowing just how much those road trips supported weekend occupancy. Hotels like Caesars Palace and the Flamingo feel it first. Suites sit empty, shows struggle to fill seats, and restaurants lose their lunch and dinner crowds. The ripple effect hits staff, tip pools shrink, and the energy that Vegas depends on starts to dim. And while the Americans pull back, international tourists are disappearing even faster. The missing Canadians. Canadians used to be a steady flow of guests, filling Caesars rooms all year. This year, that flow slowed sharply. Rising airfare, poor currency exchange, and tighter vacation budgets kept them home. CEO Thomas Reeg even admitted that Canada alone accounted for thousands of missing room nights. Europe hasn't bounced back either, with slower post-pandemic travel keeping more seats on planes empty. The result? Caesars rooms sit unsold, lobbies are quieter, and the famous strip energy dims, yet room rates and resort fees barely budge. Visitors see the price tag before they experience the magic, and many walk away. Sky-high costs are slowly strangling the Vegas dream, and it's only just beginning. The greed loop. Walk into a Caesars hotel in 2025, and the first surprise isn't the lobby or the fountain, it's the price. The company now uses algorithm-driven, dynamic pricing, adjusting room rates constantly. Two guests could book the exact same suite on the same night and pay wildly different amounts. $180 for one, $420 for the other. Locals joke it's surge pricing for beds. Instead of feeling like a luxury escape, visitors feel tricked, cheated even. That mistrust spreads quickly on social media and review sites, and it's turning regulars away. And it doesn't stop at rooms. Drinks, snacks, even parking are being manipulated to squeeze every extra dollar, and that's just the start. The $25 margarita, step up to the bar at Caesars, and the price tag shock hits fast. A cocktail that once went for $10 now costs $25 or even $30. Bottled water? $8. Bartenders say management instructs them to use cheaper liquor while keeping prices sky high, leaving visitors feeling nickeled and dimed. Social media lights up with complaints. One viral tweet read, "Vegas isn't fun when every sip hurts," gathering over 50,000 likes in a day. Caesars tried to fight back with a flashy citywide promotion in summer 2025, hoping to lure guests back, but instead it highlighted how overpriced everything had become. And that failed fix set the stage for even bigger problems. The fabulous 5-day sale mirage. In early 2025, Caesars jumped on a strip-wide discount effort called the Fabulous 5-Day Sale. Advertisements promised that Vegas value returns, with rooms supposedly more affordable for a limited time. But dig a little deeper, and the deals weren't what they seemed. Many offers required 3-night minimum stays and non-refundable bookings, and standard rooms were still priced far above what travelers expected. Locals called it a PR stunt, a flashy attempt to make the empire look generous without actually fixing the underlying problem. For a few days, bookings ticked up slightly, giving executives a short-term revenue bump. But as soon as the sale ended, reservations fell again. And behind those weak promotions, a far bigger problem was silently taking hold. Investors were starting to lose faith. Wall Street loses faith. By mid-2025, the ripple from Caesars' shaky promotions hit Wall Street hard. Analysts on CNBC downgraded the stock to underperform, while credit rating agencies labeled its debt as risky. Investors who had already panicked when the company was removed from the S&P 500 doubled down, selling off shares and pushing the price even lower. Caesars stock now trades below the levels seen during the worst of the pandemic, a stark reminder that the empire's reputation isn't just bruised, it's crumbling. One Bloomberg analyst called it a slow-motion slide, with no easy bottom in sight, and that decline isn't just numbers on a screen, it's about to hit every worker, dealer, and bartender trying to keep the city alive. The worker exodus. By late 2025, another storm hit Caesars from the inside. Veteran dealers, bartenders, and waitstaff started leaving faster than management could replace them. Wage freezes, shrinking bonuses, and reduced tips pushed many to newer casinos like Resorts World or regional properties closer to home. Morale plummeted, and the impact showed almost immediately. Slower service, less energy on the floors, and guests noticing the difference. Frequent visitors and loyalty members began skipping Caesars entirely, citing staff shortages and a lackluster experience. The exodus wasn't just about people leaving jobs. It was a warning sign that the Empire's reputation and reliability were eroding. And as loyalty fades, even the most expensive rooms can't keep the lights on. When loyalty stops paying, even Caesar's once prized loyalty program started showing cracks. Caesar's Rewards, which used to feel like an exclusive club, became confusing and stingy. Longtime members saw fewer comped rooms, dining credits disappearing, and points harder to earn than ever before. Forums and social media filled with complaints. Years of loyalty, zero rewards, one post read, echoing the frustration of thousands. Meanwhile, competitors like MGM and Wynn offered clearer perks and snagged the high-value guests Caesars had relied on for decades. What was once a sense of belonging turned into resentment. And to make matter worse, the group Caesars depended on most now feel completely ignored. If you're enjoying this breakdown, hit like and subscribe so you don't miss the rest. The story only gets wilder from here. The local disconnect. Locals used to keep the Strip alive during slower weekdays, filling hotel bars, buffets, and mid-tier rooms. But Caesars barely paid attention. For years, parking fees, blackout dates, and stingy promotions kept residents away. Only recently did the company roll out minor dining discounts and a few locals-only nights, but the damage was already done. Places like Red Rock Casino and South Point had quietly stolen the local crowd, offering better deals, easier access, and friendlier vibes. Weekdays that once hummed with energy now feel hollow. And while Caesars struggles to win them back, another competitor is rising in the shadows. The casino in your pocket. The rise of online gambling is changing the game for Caesars in ways the Strip has never seen. Players no longer need to fly to Vegas, wait in lines, or tip dealers to chase the thrill. Apps like DraftKings, FanDuel, and BetMGM keep them entertained at home, often for hours, while Caesars tries to compete with Caesars Sportsbook. But launching and maintaining the digital platform costs millions, and so far, the returns barely offset the expenses. Meanwhile, the physical casinos see fewer players, quieter floors, and thinner tip pools. The empire built on lights, sounds, and crowds is slowly hollowing out. And while executives chase the digital dream, the real-world foundations of Caesars are starting to crumble. The fading glamour? Walk through Caesars today, and the difference is striking. What used to feel glamorous now feels worn and tired. Leaky ceilings drip into lobbies, carpets are frayed, and elevators break down more often than they run. Social media amplifies every flaw. TikTok clips of cracked fountains, dated rooms, and tired decor rack up thousands of views, turning what should be charm into embarrassment. Renovation budgets are frozen, with debt repayments taking priority over aesthetics. Guests notice the decay immediately, posting reviews that highlight how Caesars feels stuck in 2005 rather than 2025. And while the buildings visibly age, the reputation they were meant to project is even older, slowly eroding the trust that once kept visitors loyal. The branding crisis. Once a symbol of power and luxury, Caesars now feels like a patchwork of names and logos. Flamingo, Harrah's, Horseshoe, all under the same roof, yet none clearly premium, none clearly consistent. Guests walk in unsure what to expect. Marketing experts call it a collage, not a vision, and even longtime fans admit the empire feels confusing. Loyalty counts for less when the brand can't clearly say who it is or what it stands for. Every confused visitor chips away at the aura Caesars spent decades building. And while the image falters, something behind the scenes is even less stable. The leadership itself is struggling to keep the empire from sliding. The CEO's tightrope. Thomas Reeg, Caesars CEO, is walking a thin line. On one side, Wall Street demands results. On the other, employees are frustrated with frozen wages and shrinking perks. His big bet on attracting high-end visitors hasn't paid off, leaving revenue flat while costs stay high. Internal memos leak phrases like aggressive cost management, signaling cuts and belt-tightening instead of fresh ideas or expansion. Even the board isn't united. Some members quietly push for leadership changes, questioning whether Reeg can steer the empire back to stability. With the top unsettled, strategy falters, decisions slow, and the people who keep the city alive feel the tension. In Vegas, uncertainty spreads faster than any problem. The mirage of optimism. Caesars keeps talking about a group calendar, saving the day, promising conventions, corporate events, and packed ballrooms. Press releases and interviews paint a picture of optimism. Full suites, busy casinos, happy guests. But the numbers tell another story. Convention bookings are still slower than before the pandemic, and big spending corporate travelers are cautious, cutting back on trips or choosing other cities. Even when events happen, suites remain half empty, buffets see smaller crowds, and the casinos never quite feel alive. Investors notice the gap between words and reality. The optimism sounds rehearsed, like a script, and it doesn't fool the market or the people who work the floors. Vegas itself is losing its spark. The city that overpriced itself. Vegas used to be the city where a weekend escape felt like a treat, not a budget buster. Caesars, along with other strip giants, built that empire on the promise of affordable luxury. That promise is fading. Fees, taxes, and inflation have pushed middle-class travelers out, leaving only those willing to pay top dollar. The average daily room rate now tops $210, the highest ever recorded on the Strip, and resort fees push totals even higher. Visitors notice the pinch. They don't feel pampered, they feel nickeled and dimed. One travel vlogger summed it up. Vegas used to make dreams affordable. Now it sells them to the rich. Without those everyday dreamers, even Caesar's crown feels shaky. The cracks in the Strip. Walk the Strip at night and the difference is impossible to miss. From Bellagio's fountains to the Flamingo's pink neon, the lights still dazzle, but the energy feels thinner, quieter. Taxi drivers circle empty streets, dealers see fewer players at tables, and valets wait longer for cars. The buzz that made Vegas electric now hums faintly, like a movie stuck on repeat. Caesar's slump isn't an isolated problem. It mirrors the heartbeat of the entire Strip. Crowds that once packed hotels and buffets are smaller, more cautious, and quicker to leave. What used to feel like an escape now carries the weight of exhaustion. And the truth is, this slow fade didn't start last week. The slow bleed, the decline of Caesars isn't sudden. It's the result of years of small decisions adding up. Higher fees, constant cutbacks, confusing rebrands. Each tweak promised more revenue but chipped away at trust. Tourists kept coming for a while, willing to overlook the flaws, until one day enough of them said no. Rooms sit empty, tables go unused, and the once thriving energy of the Strip drains away. Staff leave, social media complaints pile up, and investor confidence slips. The empire slowly bled itself from the inside out, and no flashy sale or PR stunt can patch decades of eroded goodwill. And the worst part? Vegas might not see the lesson until it's too late. And now we come to the first spot on our list. Forgetting what made Vegas Vegas, Caesars forgot the heart of Vegas. For decades, the Strip thrived on magic, value, and belonging. You came for the lights, the thrill, the feeling that a weekend could make you king. At its early days, Caesars understood that. You didn't just pay for a room, you bought a moment, a story, a memory. But over the years, every decision chipped at that feeling. Resort fees jumped to $50, $25 margaritas became normal, and dynamic pricing made a single suite cost hundreds more for some guests than others. Loyalty programs stopped rewarding loyalty. Weekdays that once hummed with locals now echoed emptiness. Corporate conferences couldn't fill ballrooms. Social media exploded with complaints. Viral TikToks of broken fountains and dated rooms mocking the empire's former glamour. And once visitors stopped feeling special, they stopped coming. High rollers and tourists alike turned to newer casinos, regional resorts, or their phones. Caesars can recover, but only if it remembers what built its name, making people feel like kings, not customers. Everything else is just numbers on a page. So there you have it. 25 ways Caesars slowly built its own collapse. This wasn't some sudden crash, it was a quiet bleed, price by price, year by year, until the magic faded. If you've walked the Strip and felt it yourself, share your story in the comments. Vegas isn't falling because of crime or bad luck. It's slipping because of greed. Every fee, every cutback, every empty table tells the same story. Hit like, subscribe, and stay tuned to our channel, because next we're taking a look at the casinos that still know how to make visitors feel like kings.